Hello again, glorious souls. James Golden here, author, storyteller, proud lore keeper, and it is my divine pleasure to bring to you the myths and monsters that populate the delightful world of darkness and our very own Sanguine Universe. With the conclusion of The Wrong Side of Heaven and the dawn of Sanguine Nights resistance, my time with the Azothic horrors of Promethean the Created does draw to a partial close. But not before we slither deep into the freakish and unfamiliar refinement of Flux, Centimani. In the spirit of the freaks, let's serve ourselves first and get comfortable, because it's time to get downright dirty. Welcome to Blacklist Redacted. Let's get into it. Centimani, the refinement of Flux. Nickname the Freaks, the 100-handed. Puritania stared out at the ravaged wasteland. It matched his mind, his philosophy, and what his body had become. This place had been a land of unmatched industry. A disastrous incident and a government cover-up left the city forever tarnished with the label radioactive. But Puritania knew the truth. The only radiation lurking in the heart of Detroit was him. Like the proud, abandoned city, Puritania had been transformed. But unlike the rotting, metallic shell, the Zika embraced the chaos of the Flux, allowing it to move through and carry him to completion. His body was a vessel, changed and transformed to suit his grand ambitions, a weapon of absolute obliteration, a great and terrible catalyst. Around Puritania, the inhuman monsters known as Pandorans emerged, manifesting from shadow and slithering from the quiet places of dormancy. Atop the rotting skyscraper, the Furies woke and screeched, alerting the Centimani prince to the presence of outsiders. Puritania could feel the hunger of his Pandorans. It pushed against his control like a swelling tide, but they would be sated soon. They have come, my children, as she said they would. Let us go to them, my little ones. Let us sate our hunger. A Promethean who is driven to understand Flux has left the pilgrimage behind. They are degraded beings, seeking to control the power of division and chaos, and in pursuit of Flux, the polar opposite of Azoth and humanity, they will find only a gateway to madness and the means with which to become a true monster. At least, that's what the Created say about those who practice the refinement of Centimani. But what drives a Promethean to try and understand Flux? Why seek a path that is so completely opposite the goal of the New Dawn? The answer is passion. All-consuming, all-encompassing passion. This passion could stem from never-ending loneliness, from trauma, pain, grief, even from alchemical philosophy. In each of these cases, the Created has made a choice to explore Centimani, to learn about the horrors that feed on and tear Prometheans apart, and to walk a path of monstrous legacy. Many Centimani consider themselves heirs to an ancient legacy of monsters and draw comparisons between themselves and their peers, both modern and historical. They peruse with great interest old tomes and texts of previous Centimani practitioners and delve deep into their own monstrous natures, exploring with horrific zeal the potential for power found in the absence of human morality. That lack of morality and surplus of power manifests in physical abnormalities that earn them the nickname the freaks many times over. It is all too common for the Centimani monster to possess a surplus of limbs, strange features such as barbed spikes across the body or even a mouth protruding from the stomach. These bizarre mutations can often lead one to mistake a Centimani practitioner for an awakened Pandoran, except for the spark of intelligence and purposeful cunning found lurking within. To many created, one who loses themselves in Centimani is worse than the most starved Pandoran or the most cruel sublimatus. These creatures had no choice in what they were. They are the living failures of the divine fire, the mockeries of the true lineages. But the Centimani, they made a choice to stray from the fires of Azoth and immerse themselves in the shady madness of Flux. They chose to be monsters. The Pandorans did not. The power found in Flux warps more than just the body of the created who practice Centimani. It warps their minds and sense of morality as well. They seek a sense of order in the life of a monster, not unlike that of the mortal serial killer or slasher. This pursuit of identity results in horrific practices, such as the creation of bizarre murder totems as territory markers, stolen items from targeted victims hung about cave entrances, or even the murder of certain types of animals anytime they encounter them. Put plainly, some of the strangest monsters and horrors in history might have been Centimani. Around campfire gatherings where rambles are told and folk rambles whispered in the waning hours and embers before dawn, one will often find this or that urban legend or legendary monster attributed to the ranks of the Centimani. Interestingly, the reverse is more often true, though Prometheans steadfast on their pilgrimage are not likely to be aware of such. It is far more common for one of the Centimani to model themselves after monsters of legend than to inspire such dreaded myths themselves. But let's talk about those practitioners drawn to such a path. Prometheans, though they aspire to the ranks of mortals, are monsters. That cold truth can wear on the goodwill of the created, and many seek escape from the world, whether by retreat, hermitage, or a solution more permanent. Sometimes, tragedy and rage stack like waves, resulting in the degradation of a Promethean so complete that not even Stanum, the path of torment and revenge, is enough. Sometimes, the only solution a Promethean can arrive at is to become the monster that all natural creatures already fear and revile. Such a decision is not an easy one, and few Prometheans have stumbled onto Centimani by accident. Every other step may have taken them to new plateaus on their pilgrimage, but the only way to find Centimani is to turn away from the pilgrimage, to abandon the search for humanity entirely. Some embrace the polarizing call of Flux out of profound sorrow, but most fall to the monstrous with rage in their hearts at the cruelty of fate. Regardless of how they arrived, all Centimani privately share one dark and secret revelation. The choice to abandon the pilgrimage came with a sense of freedom like nothing else before, and it felt good. There are those who attempt to seek out and learn the secrets of Centimani without abandoning the pilgrimage, but they are few and far between. Still, we'll discuss them. Middle path scholars and wise spiritualists, these types attempt to gain insight into the esoteric and philosophical, seeking the answer to why humans, of all the mysterious creatures out there, have the potential to be the most monstrous of all. To them, Centimani is a sharpening tool. But the experienced freak knows that the refinement of Flux is double-edged. The trip down to the freaky may be enlightening, but the trip back up is impossible. Among the established lineages of the created, there are a few that are drawn to Centimani, especially in the depths of despair. The Frankensteins and the Osirans are two of the core that are known for embracing their monstrous natures, while the Riven, born as they are of the spiritual, occasionally find that they have more in common with the unseen world than mortality. Among the lineages draped in myth and few in number, the Zika and the Unfleshed fall to Centimani frequently, both as a means of survival and as an exploration of what paths remain when all else fails. The least likely among the created to seek Centimani are the stunning Galateans and the sturdy Tamus. For the Muses, the Centimani are collectively grotesque, and there's little beauty to find on such a path. The exception to such thought patterns call themselves Gorgons, Galateans who have turned their back on humanity and through rage determine a new definition for the word beauty. For the Golems, the overt control that the Pandoran transmutations grant them over the lesser created, the Pandorans themselves. It feels too much like slavery. Loneliness is the foundation stone upon which the philosophy of Centimani is built. The life of the monster is a lonely one, and the Promethean stands firmly on the line between humanity and the monstrous. Nearly all of the Prometheans attempt at some point to find mortality, putting as much distance as possible between their monstrous side and them. But the Centimani are the opposite. They no longer strive to become mortal. They strive instead to be the very best monsters that they can be. Towards this end, those refining themselves through flux immerse themselves in the trappings of monsters. They dwell in lairs such as ruins and sewers, places far from the reach of the average mortal, and some even take up company with other monsters, if they'll let them. Vampires, werewolves, and especially Pandorans serve to curb the long years of loneliness, although not all supernatural beings are grateful for the time and attention of one of the created. Generally speaking, only those entities already devoted to a life debased and inhuman will find such company beneficial. There are 3 core lessons to the refinement of Flux. The first is that they are not human. Prometheans love to dance around this subject. Rare is the created who can admit that they simply are not human. Not yet human, not fully human. These are among the favorite sayings for those who tread the transformative waters of the other refinements. The Centimani cast aside such half-truths entirely, often going to great lengths to rid themselves of such weakness. The Promethean who practices Centimani as part of their pilgrimage, treading the lines between light and dark, teach that in order to become fully human, one must be willing to release the illusion that they are already partially human. The next lesson is to serve thyself. A Centimani practitioner need not be actively wicked, but a monster must serve itself. Their own monstrous wants and desires, their needs, must come first over the well-being of others, or else are they even truly monstrous? The Centimani who find themselves still attached to the pilgrimage teach that such selfishness is important, as all living beings are inherently selfish. Only those human beings who could acknowledge that one's own needs are as important as the needs of others have begun to find true compassion, or so they teach. The third lesson taught through the refinement of Flux is in division, wholeness. The first step of most alchemical processes is breaking a thing down into its base components, a truth that many Prometheans have seemingly forgotten. The gross is separated from the sublime, and purity emerges as everything that does not fit or support such perfection is dissolved. As the Centimani continue to delve further into inhuman behavior, they break away the limitations of humanity, becoming more free, more monstrous, more whole. Those rare Centimani who continue their pilgrimage take caution with such a lesson. They do not believe that one's humanity, sanity, and morality should be dissolved, but instead the misconceptions surrounding the true nature of the Promethean, that is what must be dissolved. Or so they teach. With such philosophy guiding their actions, it is no wonder that the life of the Centimani practitioner is equal parts loneliness and exhilaration. As one might expect, Centimani are prone to deep bouts of self-reflection, where they seek to come to terms with their various dissatisfactions and fears. The physical changes wrought by Pandoran transmutations can lead to intense disassociation as the Promethean struggles to maintain their sense of self. To battle such feelings, many Centimani scout the land for distractions, keeping themselves occupied with projects and diversions, anything to stop from fearing how far down the rabbit hole they've actually gone.
The freaks who refuse meditation and reflection find that when they do stop to look inward, they become more monstrous than they ever intended. The Centimani seeks, in a rather physical way, the liberation of the spirit. By transforming the self, the practitioner experiences victory over the static imprisonment of the body's shape. To such beings, the body is but a tool to be used, wielded, changed as needed, especially when the goal is the expression of inner monstrous truth. Both traditional Centimani practitioners and those strange souls that still adhere to the pilgrimage seek to transform the body. The monsters strive to become more monstrous, while the dabbling pilgrim aims to divorce themselves from the idea of the body as the self, that one is not merely one's physical frame. When it comes to choosing a dwelling place, the Centimani prefer monstrous lairs to nomadic happenstance. These specialized lairs are seen as extensions of the body, physical reflections of the transformed inner self. Centimani lairs are equal parts sanctum, war headquarters, Pandoran kennels, and general death trap. Often stacked with traps, alarm systems, and lethal security measures, the Centimani spends a grueling amount of time outfitting their home to suit their inhumane needs. If the study of Pandorans is also a major part of the practitioner's monstrous lifestyle, the lair must also include facilities for such beasts. Pandorans, to most Prometheans, are living embodiments of the flux within the divine fire. They are beings of instinct and need, rarely giving thought to the transmutations that mar and categorize their physical forms. There's a sort of purity to such beings that is both enviable and admirable to the Centimani. The freaks, for all their monstrous countenance, still often find themselves battling against their higher natures and the changes wrought in their flesh. Equal parts servant and living exploration of the malleability of the flesh, the monstrous Centimani use Pandorans as a master might use hounds to harry and flush out prey. When it comes to the skills and attributes necessary to thrive on the refinement of flux, the physical often takes precedence. It takes raw physical effort to survive the life of a Centimani practitioner, especially if that life includes the experimentation and mastery of Pandorans. Towards that end, a variety of physical attributes and skills play a role. Strength, dexterity, stamina, these all take point, and skills such as athletics, brawl, weaponry, and even the social intimidation all serve to forge the Promethean into a more perfect monster. Understanding the inherent strangeness of flux requires an understanding of academics, medicine, and occult as well. And finally, the merit's meditative mind and unpalatable aura can aid the Centimani practitioner in both the study of flux and mastery over the Pandoran form. What a wild ride, Centimani! The refinement of flux is not a path for the faint of heart. It is one of demonstrable inhumanity, purposeful devolution, and intentional wickedness. It is the final stop for those who have turned their back on the pilgrimage, the endpoint for the spurned, deserted, and tortured. A legacy of dreadful passion awaits those who seek the understanding of flux, and the companions one might find on such midnight roads are horrendous indeed. Although there are, even still, more refinements that we have yet to cover, Blacklist Redacted aims to turn from the Promethean specifically and shine our dark light on the other monsters that populate the world of darkness and our own Sanguine Universe. My name is James Golden, and it has been my esteemed privilege to take you on this journey through Saturnine Night to cover the lineages and refinements of Promethean the Created alongside our chronicle on Shanstei, the wrong side of heaven. But as season 1 of that tortured troop has wrapped and the winds of fate have carried us to a resistance movement brewing in the darkness, so too shall Blacklist Redacted pivot to keep pace. Stay tuned, because soon we will begin to delve deep into the clans, factions, lineages, paths, everything that makes up the resistance, as well as unveiling the sordid history of our sanguine world government and important places and events that map out our bloody universe. For now, I bid thee farewell, and despite the themes of our current chronicle, Sanguine Nights Resistance, or as I like to call it, SNR, I must remind our faithful viewers not to get your hopes up. No revolution has ever succeeded against the SWG, and no revolution ever will. Bright may be the day, but sanguine is the night.